Here in E, we have two different indexes for our roots. So we have an index of 2, an index of 4, and an index of 2 in here. Okay, the 2's aren't written in, but those are indexes of 2. So this can be a bit of a problem. However, what we have here is a situation where, again, we have a ratio of powers and indexes. So our ratio of power root, the index of 4 and our power 4 here, power 2, we have a ratio of indices here. And so we can resolve that into a square root and deal with this as a square root problem. That's one thing we could do. We could just work this out to get whole number powers, and then I can use the rational powers on the square roots. So there's a few different ways we can approach this. In this case here, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take that whole piece here, and I'm just going to work that out for the x, y, and then the z will leave in the root form because the power 2 on the z is not going to come out of the fourth root, but we can reduce that root. So I'm going to keep a couple things in the roots here. Now we can do this all with roots, we can do this all with exponents, or a bit of both. I'm going to mix it up. So I have a root x, and that index of 4, I'm going to, first of all, apply the power inside. So x to the power 4, y to the power 8, z to the power 2. Now the x to the power 4 and y to the power 8 can come on the outside. And then I'm left with the fourth root of z squared, which I'm going to simplify that ratio of 4 to 2 into a 2 to 1 ratio of root to power. Okay, so then I have x in the denominator, y squared root z. Okay, so I'm going to keep that root x in the numerator for now. Inside the root, that fourth root of x to the power 4 just becomes x. The fourth root of y to the power 8 becomes y squared. And I'm going to leave that as the fourth root of z squared. In the next step, I'm going to simplify that ratio. This becomes power 2 root 4. In fact, it's maybe easier to see if I write this in the root form, in the power form. So I'm going to rewrite that as z to the power of 2 over 4, which reduces to 1/2. Okay, and then in the denominator, I get x, y squared. And I can see that those are going to cancel out. So that's what I'll do in the next step. I'm going to cancel those out. I'm left with I forgot to write in my root z here. This is going to be root z. That root z I'm going to write as power 1/2 because I can see the z's are going to cancel out as well. So in the next step, I get root x. I'm going to change that z in the numerator to z to the 1/2. In the denominator, that's going to be z to the 1/2. Again, those will cancel out. And so my final answer ends up being the square root of x, and everything else canceled out. In F, we've got a bunch of negatives in here, so I'm just going to deal with the negatives first. This y, I'm just going to put in the denominator. So I'm just going to write my fraction here, and that y becomes y squared in the denominator. This double negative, I'm going to just keep it as positive in the numerator. Power to power, we multiply, we get positive 15. This negative power in the denominator, that is also a double negative. So I'm just going to write that as multiply in the numerator. And then lastly, the y, that extra y left over here, that just becomes y like that. So now I've dealt with all the negatives. I have all the x times and divides in the right spots. So then I'm just going to simplify this. this becomes x to the power of 32. In the denominator, we have y cubed. They share no common factor, so there's our final answer.